So we have just 1 hour. It's 10:30. I'm sorry, 9:30 to 10:30. So let's not waste time. When as far as if I say something, it's already there on YouTube. You can read it. So I think we'll spend 1 hour if you have any important questions to ask me. I'm sure you have read or seen YouTube and various other things live. So if you have any questions relevant to the topic, not political questions, and we can discuss it. Okay.
Shriyam, what is the most basic spiritual thing that a person needs to do in life to progress? Like, we read all the textbooks, but then we have all the knowledge, but what's the most basic thing that
So have you heard my YouTube?
Yes, I've seen that.
So haven't I answered the question before? It's the most important thing to do. Well, since you asked the question, there are 2 things. One is, I don't think everybody is interested in spiritual progress. There are hundreds of people who are just interested in life. Eat, drink, have a job, have a kid, go back, right? There are a few people who are interested due to various reasons. First we have to know why people are interested, then how. First why and then how. Some are interested because they think that spiritual life is some magic. I might get an easy promotion. If I don't have a child, I might have a child. Or some being might descend from the roof and bless me. Things like that. Some think that they have seen enough of this life. There may be something beyond. Some think that they have everything, but there is no happiness. So what can I do about that? Is there a way out? So there are various reasons why people want to lead a spiritual life. Sometimes they see some people and they think, maybe I can become like that. In my case, that's not possible because I neither have a weird hair nor do I wear a peculiar robe. So you can't imitate me. There's nothing to imitate. So there are different reasons why people want. I think the most serious of these is those who have had enough of life. Doesn't mean that you should grow old for them. Some people realize it quite young. Is there something beyond? Is there a happiness I can find which is outside this? Right? Okay? This applies to all, so her question was good, so I'm elaborating a little bit. You see sometimes a scene where under a tree somewhere you see a fakir sitting. When I say fakir, it means sadhu, sanya, anybody who can't be fitted into our structure of things, wearing torn clothes and maybe even having a begging bowl because he doesn't know where his next meal is coming from. But with a beautiful, satisfied smile on his face. And if you carefully look, you will see long line of people coming to see him. And very often there are marks, there are Rolls Royces, except if, of course, you've had a guru who is driving 10 Rolls Royces, which this man may not be because he's a fakir. Okay. So, you see all this standing there in a line, all kinds of cars, all kinds of people. 2 things are evident. One is they have come to ask from something from somebody It doesn't seem to have anything from an ordinary sense of the term. He has nothing. He's sitting under the tree. The tree is his shelter. What are they seeking? And the corollary to this is, perhaps with all these things that they have, they are not happy. And they are seeking something more. Sometimes people come to me and say, Swami Vivekananda was wandering in Maharashtra. A young man came to him and said, Sir, I want to give up everything and become like the Buddha. Swami asked him, okay, how far have you educated yourself? He said, nothing, I'm a school dropout. Okay. And was your family rich? No. Do you have a job? No. He said, what are you going to give up now? What is the meaning of saying? Probably laziness. You know, some young people go under the influence of marijuana and they think that they are finding God, peace, samadhi. They say, we want to give up. What do they give up? There is nothing to give up. So, when you see this life and you see how much the dollar can buy, nothing more than this, and then you begin the serious inquiry about, is there something more than that? That's called a spiritual inquiry. When that begins, then you go to somebody and say, what should I do now? You say, look, it's not, there are no shortcuts. Somebody is telling you that this particular practice is a shortcut, avoid it. But there are no shortcuts. We all have gone through the hard way, unless somebody is so lucky than me, and there's some shortcut. I don't know. We all worked hard on it. So, somebody says there are no shortcuts. There are certain things you can do. And you cannot diverse your daily life, you cannot divide your daily life from your practice. A spiritual aspirant cannot say that I live as I like, I do what I want to do and still move spiritually because I can practice something. If the Supreme was so easily available by breathing in and out, all animals would have attained it very easily, but they also breathe in and out. You see? So you also have to change your lifestyle. When I say lifestyle, it doesn't mean that suddenly you should be wearing torn garments. I'm not talking about that. Changing your lifestyle. That's why every spiritual path has some principles which they understand that you start practice. One is, as far as possible, stick to the truth. Not easy, I know. Otherwise it's a contradiction. When you 24 hours, day in and day out, you're lying, and you're seeking the absolute truth, is this possible? Don't you see the contradiction there? Then, try not to cause injury to other living beings as much as you can. Much as you can, at least. Try not to. And when I say other living beings, please include human beings. Well, I know people who feed sugar to ants every day, but in business they won't mind murdering somebody. What does it mean? Try not to cause injury to others as much as you can. I know it's a tall order, it's not so easy many times. And keep some little time in your life where you can sit down quietly by yourself and center your mind. There are many ways of doing it. We're not discussing the patterns, the techniques. We're saying, you ask your question. Yeah. So while this is going on, you should also find some time every day to sit down by yourself. It can be anywhere. You don't have to go to a cave. Even if you go to the cave, you're taking your mind with you. You can't leave it behind. Right? can we sit quietly somewhere every morning before we start the day, gather our energies together, go deep within and relax and be quiet. There are many ways to do that. That's a different subject. And one way may not be applicable to another. Because the people are made differently. Everybody is not the same. I know I may not have fully answered your question, but if I fully answer your question, what will you do? The answer has to come from you. If I give you an answer, it's a ready-made answer, it's my answer, right? Shouldn't it come from you? What's your name?
Shubhra. Shubhra.
Shubhra.
Yeah.
S-U-B.
S-H-U-B-H-R-A.
Somebody, where's Mr. Ratnakar?
Yeah.
Oh. So you wanted to ask some questions on Kriya, but this is not the right
I know.
venue for that.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
What is the right venue?
No, he has already taken Kriya and he has some questions.
Okay.
That's
No,
what
it's for someone who has not.
Someone who is not, we have these retreats in different parts of the US when I come. So if you could attend the retreat, we usually have 2.5 days. So the first day will be a general satsang. The second day, I impart the knowledge of Kriya in a small way, in the sense that the first step. And then you practice it sometime. And then get back. So the 2.5 days, the half day, last half day would be to kind of revive or review what you have learned. And then you go away and then meet me the next year and then see how it goes.
Do you teach in India as well?
Yes, I do. I have to say this, that if you need to take Kriya in India, you are better to do it in Madanapalli or in any one of the, Madanapalli is where I live, or in any one of the retreats that we have in India. But for that you need to check the website and see where retreats are, because nowadays, as soon as it is announced, it's filled up. Can't blame me for that. We have a limited number of people in the retreat. You can't have a retreat with 1,000 people. It serves no purpose. So we have to keep some numbers and then they get filled up. What I would suggest is, there is a new website called Meet Shri M. Isn't it?
That's the email, sir.
No.
No. Meet Shri M is for group.
There is a website, isn't it?
Meet Shriyam at satsang-foundation.org. If you send an email.
Huh?
If you send an email,
So if you go into Google and say Meet Shri M, you'll get there, I think.
should.
So now you have the modern times, God is Google. So you don't have to collect knowledge in your head and walk around. Just good. Too much knowledge is not a good thing. So anyway, so you go into Meet Shri M and you'll get a website, put into Google search engine, and somebody called Lakshmi will get in touch with. There will be a telephone number and everything. And if you are specific about Kriya, you should say, I not only want to meet him, but I would like to take Kriya, mark Kriya. But then it may take a little time. We wait so much for other things, so why not wait a little bit for it? It also decides if one is serious about it. Some people might not want to wait for 2 weeks or 1 month or 6 months. Let me just seriousness, or they'll go somewhere else. They need some other brand of Kriya problem. It's okay.
I have a question. How to deal with the distractions when you're living in among bogies and we all
Bogies. We are all bogies.
I mean, it's easy when you're living among bogies, but when you're
No, you have no idea what happens in a monastery. It's not like that. Wherever human beings are together, they are both negative and positive sides. But I can understand your question. It's like this. You are right. Like the Bhagavatam Bhagavad, an ancient text which says that all human beings are society oriented. It's difficult to live in isolation. Very rarely you find somebody who doesn't fit into anything and is staying alone. Normally it's not possible. You live in society. You live among others. So you are easily influenced by people around you. Normally, yes, you're right. We are. Therefore, the importance of a satsang. The satsang doesn't mean after 1 year you sit and listen to something. That's not the satsang. Satsanga is to go to a group which is serious about these matters. There will be somewhere, some people will be definitely there. So, if you associate with them, because if you don't have a satsanga, there will be a dursanga, naturally. That's one part of it. Second, if you say, is there a technique to it? I would say it also depends on your life, how you lead your life. I'm a householder myself, I'm a married man. I have kids, I have friends, I don't think I have enemies, but I have friends. I hope so. So, but yet, I may mix with people, but I may not become like them. Now here you have to be careful. Because normally, with a group you become like that. So here you have to be aware and say, okay, not for me, watch out. One. The other is, if you find something enjoyable in the other life, spiritual life, then slowly you can wean yourself away from this. Because the mind doesn't like to live in a vacuum. It likes to hold on to something. So, if in a vacuum, if you expect to say, I should be free of distractions and live in the midst of distractions, it's not going to work. That is, you are asking this because you are seriously thinking, how am I to get out of it? Many people are happy to live like this. They don't even want to get out. Right? So, if you are thinking this way, then one, you should look around and see if there are some like-minded friends. One. The other is indulge yourself in something which you really enjoy and which is some way directly or indirectly linked to your spiritual calling. Like, example, music. It's beautiful music. Need not necessarily be Indian classical music, even Western classical music. Anything that, in fact, music is so important because you can have music without words. When somebody plays the flute in Vrindavan, there are no words. Yeah? Are there any words? Is he playing in Sanskrit or Hindi or Bhojpuri? The sound. That is the importance of music because it sometimes takes you across the confusion of a language. So, find something which will keep you attracted towards. You understand? And then try to be very careful.
Yeah, one question. If there is an urgency to become free, like especially for people who have been seeking for a long time, and there comes a point where you just want to get there. So, is there a way, or how does it happen?
If that urgency has become really urgent, then the way will be found by itself. When you're really thirsty, somehow manage to find water to drink. It's like that. You need to figure out if you're really thirsty. When you ask anybody how to, you will find it somehow. If you're really, really serious, then you will find out how to get there. I'm telling you, it's a fact, because I don't say anything unless I have some experience in this matter. For me it was urgent, so I
It feels like many times, because having tried many techniques and all that, now it seems at a point where you don't want to do anything and just let things be.
just watch out if you are getting lazy or
Okay.
yeah, just watch out that. I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
Just keep a watch. It might be that the mind is tired. In fact, even if it is tired and it stops, that's also good. Okay. So keep that urgency uppermost in your mind. Don't let it be brushed aside. Whatever happens. Don't suddenly indulge in things which will sweep it under the rug. I'm so bored of techniques, so let me have a drink. This thing you watch out, the modern world. Spirit comes internally, spirit also comes in a bottle. Understand what? One day I'm fed up now, so let me have a drink. That's not the solution. If that is the solution, there are hundreds of people who drink every day, they should be there. They are spiritual 1 hour or so in the evening. Beyond that, no spirit.
In spiritual path, you said like in the morning when the day starts, we have to sit. As a seeker, whom should I seek? For God? I don't know the imagination of God. Or Guru? I don't know who is really the Guru. So whom should I seek? Or whom should I focus on?
It's a similar question, little different from what you asked. When I say you really have a desire to find out, you really have a desire to find out, you can seek it in many ways. If you like some teacher whom you love, you can seek through. But make sure that the teacher doesn't become more important than the teacher. If every day you do pranams to me and lead your life as you like, it's not going to help. Every day you meditate on me, but in life I am quite the same. Then it doesn't make any difference. So it's not, suppose I am standing out there on the road, and you come and ask me how to go somewhere, and I tell you. Nowadays you don't have to ask because there is Google, but suppose, olden days. So I say go this way, turn right, then go straight, then turn left, then there's this street, then turn right. And then you will come to JFK. Now, if you have to reach JFK, what should you do? Follow instructions? Or stay there and garland me and light lamps and do arati to me? Will you reach JFK?
So no imagination.
So while it is okay to give respect to the teacher, you are actually disrespecting the teacher by not following instructions. Which is not, that nothing happens to the teachers, for us. So keep that in mind always. If you like, for instance, the image of Siddhi Sai Baba, I like it very much because here is an example of a real fakir, real saint, I like it. But read between the lines and see what are his instructions to people, how they should live. If you follow that, then you are really following him. Not simply by doing puja. I mean, it's okay. It's a better thing than doing something funny. You are engaged in an activity which is good for you, okay. But you should also change your life. And please don't imitate the Guru. The Guru has long hair, you don't start growing now. It makes no sense. Yeah. It's what the teachings are that have to be followed, not external imitation. And when you want, you can come here. Then I won't see your face, but it's okay. I can turn. It's okay. So, so I feel better when you're sitting on the left side. What was I saying? Guru. Follow the teaching as much as you can, but you don't have to imitate. Sometimes a guru may have some idiosyncrasies which you don't have to practice. There was a great Sufi teacher called Jalaluddin Rumi, who founded the order of the whirling dervishes. Okay. They were like this. In Turkey, if you go, they'll show you, but now it's become a tourist attraction, or rehearsed. Anyway. Now he had an idiosyncrasy. He loved to sit in Turkish baths. So now all the Sufis of the order sit in some Turkish bath. Why? So I'm trying to expand on your question. Now I'll tell you a nice story. Okay? Sometimes people get bored. There was a great teacher who was walking along the street with a few disciples of his. Few disciples because he was a great teacher. He was walking, and then they were passing a tavern. Tavern? Bar. They were passing a bar. Suddenly I heard that somebody carries liquor in the boot of his car. Because they don't want others to know that they're drinking. So, car and bars, which are a karobar, means in the office. So, what did I say? Yeah, so he was passing in front of a tavern, and the owner of the tavern was standing outside, hoping that he would come in. He thought, no, he's not going to come in here. Why would he come in here? This is a tavern. There's nothing to do with it. So, but he was standing outside like this. So he passed and he turned around and he said, hello, namaskar. So, why are you not inviting me? This guy got quite touched. That he's asking me to, so he said, please come. I thought you won't come here. He said, come. So of course the disciples also went. They sat down. He said, what have you got to offer me? The guy was in a complete dizzy. What to offer? There's only wine out there. He said, I have nothing, sir, except wine. Okay, offer it to me with a loving heart. He said. So he brought a glass and poured the wine. Finished it. Put the glass down. Meanwhile, the disciples were thinking, so what about us? So, everybody got a lot of wine. He had one glass, they had 6. This is what disciples do normally. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, among the Brahmins, the males, they should sit down and relieve themselves, pee. They should be standing up and pee, that's the rule. So he used to say that if I stand up and pee, then my disciples will be going round and round in circles. So you have to be careful what you do, otherwise people may imitate you. So anyway, they had about 6 or 7 glasses very fast, and then the Guru came out and walked as straight as a ramrod as he had come in. Wine didn't have any effect on him, probably. And the disciples also walked behind him, but this time they were not walking, they were like snakes. Anyway, so they walked further up, and there they saw a foundry. You know what's a foundry? Where metal is melted, made into different shapes. So, the owner of the foundry was standing outside. He asked him, Master, will you step into my foundry for good luck? He said, okay, sure. He went and sat down. Disciples also followed. They also said, what have you got to offer me? He said, I have nothing but malt and metal. He said, give it to me. So he poured it into a crucible and he drank it. And he told his disciples, everyone can help themselves. It's not possible. This is something you have to watch out. Okay? Then otherwise anything, a mantra japa, watching your breath, doing puja, thinking of this Supreme in an image form, all these are okay. The thing is, different people have different approaches. As long as you don't say, I am the only right guy, he is wrong, it's okay. That shouldn't be there, because when that comes, then you're again narrowing your thoughts.
So we have to accept everything, whatever.
To accept, but you have to be careful, to be alert. Some people love to do rituals, they like to worship, they like to do seva, it's fine. But someone may not. And you can't say that fellow is useless. This guy can't say he is not. So that because human beings are all made differently, they have different backgrounds, different ideas, so they will approach it in different ways. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudarja, 2000 years ago, the Rig Veda said. There is one truth, but wise men may call it by different names. Because if it is infinite, there must be infinite ways to reach it. If you say there is only one way, then it ceases to be infinite. It becomes finite. What? Oh, I can hear the pranava.
Are you planning to go to a tavern today?
No, sir.
Just joking.
Nobody invited me. But you know what? I am always in a tavern. I'm always in a tavern. Morning to night I am in some way drunk. I can't explain to you, but I'm kind of drunk. And when I want to meet people, I sit quietly for some time so that I should be sane, right? And I come and try to talk reason. Otherwise it is completely crazy. I wish everybody goes crazy this way. My Guru, Maheshwarnath Babaji used to say, what we have today is a result of maybe 1,000 years of sanity. He said, if this is the result of 1,000 years of sanity in this world, it's better somebody becomes insane. Perhaps things may change.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
You talked about 1,000 years back and everything, and the question that I wanted to ask, and first of all, I don't claim that I have read or understand anything. I have a very limited amount of knowledge. The experience that you talked about, I watched some of your YouTube videos and the book you read. You know, there is a life, another life, and then other gurus talked about physical body, mental body, subtle body and everything, karmic structure holds subtle body with physical body. When the body class cycle is over, it takes another body and so on until the karmic structure falls down apart. Now, how do we validate all these things? These are all being taught. And as you said, keep the faith. There are thousands of ways. There comes the Vipra Bahula, right? So there are many ways to achieve. So to achieve everything, you have to, in the and atomic level, you have to keep the faith that there is a truth. Now, same way, the life, another life, there has to be a validation.
Okay. Let me put it this way. When the word faith, when I use in this context, it means since you don't know, Okay? That we have to admit. We don't know. Since I don't know, I have to go by what others say until I prove it or disprove it. That is the Pythagoras theorem, which says that the square of the base and the square of the altitude will be the square of the hypotenuse. It's a theory. It's not a theory, it's a theorem. Theorem actually means a theory. We don't know.
It's a proof.
It's not proved yet. Now it's only theory. Okay. So to prove it, first you have to have a theory, a hypothesis. So you can consider all that knowledge that has come to us as a hypothesis. Now along with that, because if you want to search, you cannot search if you say it's not there. It's better to say maybe it is there. This is a good point to start with. And then you see what have people done to touch it, and so go into it from day one so that you have your own practical experience of it and you don't have to depend on somebody else.
So this experience, the practical experience, is something that happens to yourself in your mind, correct? Now here's my thing, and I'm referring to the book, the two saints, Arun Shori, that just wrote it.
I know, I read that book.
No, I know.
Most of it is nonsense. Anyway.
I agree. And I mean, I'm not questioning what I'm debating that, and what I'm trying to say is that I want to believe. At present, my state of mind is like this. I'm not neither a theist nor an atheist.
Good. That is the best state to be.
I always always want to find out what is the truth, but the truth is something I can validate. And I don't believe what Arun Shori says everything, but the fact of the matter is...
You don't believe what Arun Shori says. You don't believe what M says. Good idea. Start somewhere.
Correct. I want to validate it. Now, when you say the practical experience, now through, let's say, meditation, for example. Now, who knows that it's a fluctuation of the oxygen level in my brain that causes me these experiences?
Then you shouldn't go.
Now, sometimes...
leave the search. There's nothing you can do about this.
No, then
I'm
giving
your
up.
conclusion.
No, I'm not concluding. I'm still continuing. I believe this, but I'm still here. I'm still here with open mind to accept.
Okay, let us put it this way. When you are silent for so long, I knew you will come out powerfully. Anyway, so let's look at it this way, which is that suppose it is caused by shortage of oxygen. That's it.
Fluctuation.
Suppose. Does that disqualify the experience because the reason is this?
But what I'm trying to say is that we cannot attribute to supernatural something that happens inside me.
Now there is one problem here. If you have stuck to this idea
that
it cannot be validated, then nobody can validate it for you.
I'm saying, sir, I'm open to accept.
But you are not open. You are saying everything you say it is not validated. That's not openness.
Okay, can we say this, reason it out this way? That the experience through certain kriyas or methods, if I do it, and if I experience, let's say subtle body floating around me, for example.
Have you experienced it?
No, I have not experienced it.
Wait a minute. If you experience it, you will know whether it is definite or not. Why don't you try it?
I mean, I don't know how to do it, first of all.
I
want to define it.
That's a different story. So, instead of speculating on these theories, why don't you get into this and let me see if it is really there.
That's another question I have, that I want to find out, and how do I go about it?
But because you can't go about it, because whatever techniques are offered, you say it is the point.
No, sir. I am open to accept.
How?
If I experience something, I am open to accept.
When you experience it, you will say it is because of oxygen.
That is true. Eventually, the breathing, the meditation we do, eventually it does have an impact on the brain.
I have a suggestion, sir. Now you have drawn many conclusions. Just think about these conclusions for a while, set them apart, and say, let me try. Don't conclude before you go into it. Don't conclude. You are now read here, read there, read Arun Shori, read Rajendra Prasad, and you finally say that this is what it could be. I am saying, can you start a spiritual practice, but then it is no use because you will say this is because my oxygen has become low. So you have to be.
I'm telling you one more thing. So if I experience, for example, it's fine, it may be a tribute to oxygen level, whatever it is. But then someone like Richard Dawkins, when he argues, right, and there are a number of opportunities to meet with him. It's something I'm going to tell him that, look, you try, why don't you try this way?
You know what? You have read too much, that is the problem. Too much. You have too much material in your brain. Unless it cools down, you cannot find it. I'm telling you 100%. I'm assuring you. You have Richard Dawkins, you have Arun Shourie, you have Charles Darwin. You have so many things in your head. Can you say that, let me think for myself? Not like Richard Dawkins or somebody else.
That's what I'm saying, that I'm neither a theist nor an atheist.
But you keep repeating the same thing. Then you quote. When you go and then you say Richard Dawkins. Then you go and you say Arun Shourie. The quotation means that you are a second-hand person. You are depending on other people.
So the experiential knowledge. That's what
Absolutely.
you emphasize. Okay. Now tell me the next step. I knew you said the
Who else are you going to quote now?
That's what I'm going to quote to you. You asked me, I can answer you. I will quote you now.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying that if you should tell me that how I go about it now.
So now you can't go about it. It needs time for you to settle down from all this Dawkinses and Shouries and everything. Then perhaps we can think about it when we meet next time. I see the sincerity, but it's been kind of taken over by too much of reading and thought and things like that. You need to look at it carefully. And after a year, you come back, say that I have thought over it. Maybe we can again continue the discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's seems a lot of confusion among spiritual people about celibacy and spirituality. And you said something on one of the YouTubes that I heard that I liked about when your guru, when he was giving like instructions for what people should do, they were pretty strict. And you said, you know what, at this time I think people should do something different, a little less strict. And you were concerned that people had to be householders. And then the Guru Babaji came and said you were right, and told your guru you were right. Could you say anything more about, because it is such an area of confusion?
Apparently, somewhere in the Vatican archives, a young monk was sent down to check what they have written in the ancient books. For a whole day he didn't come out, so they went to investigate what's happened. He was breaking his head on the walls and crying loudly, and they said, what happened? He said, oh my God, all this time we were following something just because we missed the hour. They said celebrate, and we will celebrate. So, as far as this is concerned, while it's true that man uses a maximum amount of energy, apart from food and other things, in sex, and it's also because in sex, in the last stage of sex, you can't even think. For a second, everything is gone. That is the ecstasy. Okay. So, it's so important for human beings. And therefore, lots of energy goes into this. So, we are saying, if we want to concentrate or move in a place where you need a lot of energy, it's good to have some control over it. That's about it. And also, to be obsessed with celibacy is to be caught by this word. I want to be celibate all the time, I'm protecting myself. You see, so it simply means that, in which case, all the rishis who wrote the Upanishads and the Vedas, they also followed brahmacharya, but that does not necessarily be celibacy only. Brahmacharya means any charya or movement that takes you towards the Supreme, to the truth. I mean, let's not use the word Supreme, towards the truth. So there are many other things involved in this, not only celibacy. If you give too much importance only to celibacy, then you get obsessed by it. And you lose more energy than you gather. What it means is that the senses should be controlled, not allow the senses to control you. That's about it, according to my understanding. Also, too much of celibacy without proper sublimation may cause mental aberrations, like Arun Shourie said.
I can ask unless somebody else wants to ask a question.
Yes,
Otherwise I could.
there must be somebody.
Spiritual masters say that there is an inward turn you need to take. Can you explain what it is?
See, inward turn means, apart from studying what is outside, you need to study the mind. I'm not talking about the practical turning inward. I'm saying just as we want to know about the outside world, there are hundreds of things, thousands of things in the inside world. Very often, it's the inside world that decides the outside world. We like to think that we are intellectual, but generally all of us live by the heart, by feeling. So, to turn in means to begin to look at yourself as you are. Not to say I am the Brahman, I am the Supreme Being and so on, which is only an imagination, a projection. Really you are not at the moment. It is now. You are, but you don't know. So, therefore, the first thing, when you say understand yourself, it means understand yourself as you are now. Because if you don't know what you are now, how can you decide what you want to be later? You should know now where you are. So it's not like saying I am the Supreme. It makes no sense because you don't know what it is or what you're talking about. We know only violence, but we talk so much about ahimsa. Which we don't know. It's an ideal state. That's in the same way. To turn within means to be able to look at yourself under all circumstances. It's not a mystical practice, that is another part of it. Which means, how do you know, how do you watch yourself? Only in communication with the outside world. Suppose I sit in a cave and after 10 years I say now I have no anger, I have no fear, I have no jealousy. It means nothing because in the cave there is nothing to be jealous about, nobody to be angry, nothing to be afraid. Right? When you come out and see the outside world and have interactions, you get into a bus, somebody kicks you on the leg, especially with a stiletto heel, then you know where you stand. So you cannot look at yourself in isolation. You can look at yourself only. Now, while doing that, if you reserve some time of the day where you can sit quietly and look inside, that is the beginning of the journey. Turning inward. But turning inward need not necessarily mean closing your eyes. There was a great person called Ramana Maharshi. Arun Shourie has written about him once. Arun Shourie seems to be a greater saint than any of them. So anyway.
No, I just look
No,
at
no.
It's just a different way of life.
So, this Ramana Maharshi, have you seen any picture of Ramana Maharshi?
Yeah.
With his eyes closed?
Never seen.
Never. Why? Because there for him there was no inner and there was no outer, everything was the same.
Yeah. So I'll ask a question. I know Raman Maharshi, Punja, many he's mentioned that there is one self, and there is the eternal and there is a transient self. Now, I have been following Sri Aurobindo for a long time, and I feel very connected and very fond of him. And there is always this desire that maybe someday I get to interact with him. I don't know if it's that I don't know. It's very irrational, but there is a deep desire for that. And Raman Maharshi, I believe, mentioned to one of the disciples that there is nobody else except you. There are no two people. It's just one person. But then there is this deep desire in me that I want to interact with Sri Aurobindo, and I don't know how to. I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this actually, to be honest.
You can probably interact with the teachings of Aurobindo. How can you interact with Aurobindo?
If they exist in subtle, I mean, after we leave our body, apparently we are in a subtle body, and I don't know all that stuff. Yeah.
That is tomorrow's thought. Let's think of today. Now how can you interact with somebody who is gone? Let's say gone or gone across a Joe.
But if there is a desire, I can't explain. I mean, it's something, like they say you can see Krishna, people see Krishna. Though Raman Maharshi even dismisses that it's just an illusion.
See, you're feeling that you need to have some peace and someone you can depend on. So for you, Aurobindo seems to be the choice. So your mind is desiring for that. That's about it. You cannot say if you'll find it or not. I can't tell you. I don't know. I may not may. But I don't want to speculate on that. But however, it happens to many people. For you it is Aurobindo. For somebody else it may be something else. So this is because of the mind's desire to be at rest. Kind of uncertain. So it needs to catch on to something. Right?
But then
the believer has to catch on to something. So he needs these images. The non-believer has to catch on to something, so he needs rigid documents. Everybody needs some support.
But like Srila Prabhupada said to recommend that everybody just chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So is that just a mind game, or I think it's real?
All games are mind games. But you don't have to call them games. They are all man-made. So chanting of the name, it is also in the mind, right? It's not outside the mind. Not chanting and looking at oneself, still it is in the mind. Mind is the only instrument that we have. So you can't call it games. When you say games, that means you're saying, I am better but this is not so nice. It's like tolerance. I am right. This fellow is not right, but it's okay. I'll cooperate with him. This is the meaning of the word tolerance. So in the same way, some people, see, what we should accept is that the human being is multifaceted and multi-characters. So somebody might like music and singing and going that way, so that's okay. You can't call it a game. I mean, in the bad sense of the term. Good sense of the term, everybody likes to play a game. And if it is a spiritual game, then you are going with it.
But it's unsettling that you have so much invested in Krishna or Aurobindo, and it's like it sounds as if they are not real. It's just a part of your mind.
Ourselves are temporary beings. We are not real ourselves. So what is this investment that we have? The investor himself is not there after some time.
Because you need somebody to look after you, that's the thing.
Some people think they can use M for that. I need to keep knocking once in a while and say, no, may not be so.
how does one know like what is the path, like whether it is kriya or karma or bhakti or?
You see, it depends on your character. Suppose you are a guy who cannot sit quiet, who needs to keep doing something or the other. There are people like that, they're built like that. Then it's better that you start doing some actions which are less self-centered than normal, which will take you out of the center a little bit. So that is called karma, where you work. You see, according to the Shastras, there are three rough characteristics in all human beings. One is sattva, the other is rajas, and the third is tamas. Tamasic means, like idle, not wanting to do anything at all, indulging all the time in just sensory happiness, carrying on with life. It's called, and sattva means goodness. Some people have a calm, quiet, tranquil mind, and they like to do good to others. This is sattva. Now, sometimes people mistake laziness and lethargy for sattva, because there also it's quiet. Here also it is quiet. Various people don't want to do anything, but they think we are sattvic, we have achieved. Actually, they are lazy. So now to change the tamoguna into sattva, intermediately we need rajas, rajoguna. And karma, action, is one way to wake you up from being sleeping all the time and thinking you are in samadhi. Okay? So that's one way. If you are a busy man, you like to do work always, you can do through work, then it's karma. Suppose you are of the meditative time, then yogic meditation including kriya. It's a good step. Suppose you are a person naturally who has devotion. When you hear music or some name which is associated with the divine, you feel very happy and blissful. Then that may be your path. So you have to look at it here. However, you can have a judicious combination of all these, it will be nice. But it's difficult. It's not so easy.
One question related to that. I read about like Krishnamurti. Can we relate his path as like Jnana Marga?
You don't have to label Krishnamurti. If you feel satisfaction that Krishnamurti is Jnana Marga, you can do that. But there is no need to label. He can be on his own. Right? Why would you accept him only if it is Jnana Marga? Why not have it? And as far as Krishnamurti is concerned, there is no acceptance or rejection anyway.
I think that's one of the questions I also had. That why did your guru send him to J. Krishnamurti when
because
he's anything but?
No, it's not anything but. You got it wrong.
Okay. He doesn't believe in anything like.
That's great. Nothing wrong. See, this is the problem. We always want to compartmentalize it. Say, this guy is not good for us, so let's leave it. Krishnamurti, if you look carefully at Krishnamurti, you will see that he doesn't want to be validated. You don't have to add him into Jnana Marga, which is true, of course. The Upanishads, some of them talk exactly like this. But he says he hasn't read them. There was something happening in his mind and brain which was not normal, which was extraordinary. You don't know what was happening. You will have to wait again for Arunshari. So we don't know. So it may be Jnana Marga, may not be Jnana Marga.
Sir,
Time of 10:30. No offense.